covering the world of professional wrestling from post to post, a show for the busted open nation. This is the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, Front Row, Debhausen, and Tony Justice.
What is happening, nation? This is the Nation's Corner, and as you can see, I am not front row. I am Tony Justice in the lead host chair, and with me, as always, is Debhausen, who is sitting right beside me because I am in her living room. How has that happened?
What?
How's it going, Deb? You doing all right?
I am doing fantastic.
Good. And with us tonight, we have the one, the only, the Stone Cold E.T. of the Busted Open Nation, Stephen Wyand. Stephen, how are you doing today, brother?
Well, if you're ready for another edition of the Nation's Corner, give me a hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
You damn right! Oh, Stone Cold E.T. appreciates you having the toughest son of a bitch on YouTube to come across your screens.
All right, man. Good
What
to
the
have
hell
you
is
with us
going
tonight,
on here?
man.
Another home invasion? It seems like it's going on all the time. Thunder Rosa going into Dave LaGreca's house. Seth Rollins going into Edge's home. And now you're in Deb's home? What's up with that?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, Steve. That's why we have you here, man, to pick up on the small topics. That's
Yeah.
good, man. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily a home invasion, but I'm here anyway.
I invited him.
Yeah. We've been having fun today, man. I went and ate a cheesesteak from this place called Whiz Kids, which is a place
cool.
in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and that's where Deb and Seth go. Her boyfriend, they go all the time, and had an amazing sandwich, and I got to eat a pierogi for the first time.
Oh my!
And it wasn't Violetta's, but it was still tasty.
Tasty pierogies.
And that's the first time I've ever had a pierogi. And
Nice.
yeah, and then we went to, where else did we go, Deb?
We went to Bethlehem Steel.
Yeah.
They have a beautiful park. If anyone ever finds himself in Bethlehem, PA, go to Bethlehem Steel. There's a lot of history there. They've built it into a nice park and arts center. And so we planned on showing Tony that area since he was here, and it's such an important landmark in the Lehigh Valley. And we walked into the area and saw that Oktoberfest was going on, which was a nice surprise. We walked around and saw a lot of German stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome, man. It was just a dilapidated factory, you know, and they were having a festival of some sort there. We didn't even know it. They were just planning on showing me the factory. And we walked across the catwalk and saw they have like signs that you can read, you know, and it tells the history of Bethlehem Steel on that certain portion of what you're looking at. And then we got to the other side of the catwalk, and there was a bunch of people over there, and they were setting up a stage. And I was like, well, someone's about to start playing. Well, then we looked over towards the other direction, and there was a bunch of white canopy tents and a lot of hubbub going on over there. Come to find out, it was Oktoberfest.
Oh, nice.
So we got to go over there, and it was free admission. You just walk in, and they had all sorts of merchandise. And I got a video of like 6 guys, and they were dressed in, like, I don't know what kind of garb they were wearing.
Like traditional German, like skirts, suspenders.
Yeah.
Cool.
They had the knee-high socks, and they were doing this kind of a dance, you know, and then they
Lederhosen, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Lederhosen.
Well, hey, yeah, I learned something every day. And then so walked around the log, you know, there's a log they're doing this in front of, right? And then next thing you know, they're picking up axes and they're taking turns chopping the wood, you know, and they do it, I guess, till someone falls out, and someone fell out, you know, and then they got a beer at the end of it, and it was fun to watch, you know. And then there was like a few bands playing in there, like different types of music. And we walked around that place for a little while, and then we left, and then we went to the mall and did some shopping there, and came on back here and got ready for the show. So,
Sweet.
I'm headed to New York City. I'm headed to Queens with a load because, I'm always delivering loads of justice.
Yeah.
There you are.
And I can't deliver till Monday because my truck was in the shop last week for 2 days. And so I have to deliver Monday now, and I'm passing through here, and where I'm staying the weekend until Monday morning is only like 30 miles away from Deb. So they came and picked me up at the truck stop today, and so I've been spending the day with them. But little birdie tells me that you had a busy week yourself, Stephen. So why don't you tell us about it?
And I had a great week of music, man. I mean, Tuesday I went down to Columbia to check out Dirty Honey and Mammoth WVH, and man, that was one great show by both bands. I was very surprised how good Wolfgang and his band was, because I know you and Deb were down there at Hershey for the Guns N' Roses show, and you guys said Wolfgang was really good, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out, because I was like, man, that's great. Dirty Honey's playing as well, and Wolfgang and them, and man, I was honestly surprised how much time Wolfgang was given, because he got to play basically every single track from the album. He played 13 out of the 14 songs on the debut album. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to hear basically the entire record, not front to back, because he obviously played those songs kind of, shuffled them.
Can you play it back to the front?
Yeah. You will do what I say. Exactly. He didn't technically play it back to the front. He was just kind of just shuffling around the songs, and he sounded so great on those vocals, and his band was great, and I was very impressed. He can play the piss out of a guitar, I tell you. And,
he's very talented.
Very talented. Looks just like his mother and plays just like his daddy.
Oh yeah.
And Dirty Honey was great. Both bands, mind you, played the exact same set of songs, 13 songs by both bands. And I was like, wow. And I said to myself, if this was Guns N' Roses, Wolfgang's set would have been chopped in half, because in Baltimore last week, Guns N' Roses played for 3 hours and 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, there's no way. Because he actually mentioned during the set, he was like, yeah, we've been touring with Guns, and we don't get to play a lot of these songs. So we appreciate, Dirty Honey having us and, letting us play, these songs. And I'm like, yeah, because if this was Guns N' Roses, your set would have been chopped in half. Yeah. So it was cool for them to bring them, with them on that show, because Dirty Honey was going from Columbia, because they just wrapped up their tour with the Black Crowes, which was a great tour. And they were playing, they were kind of coming through, and they played with Wolfgang, and Wolfgang was going straight to Raleigh afterwards to play with Guns N' Roses that Wednesday. And then Dirty Honey had 2 headlining shows in Georgia, Atlanta on Wednesday, and Thursday in Savannah. And then on Friday, I got to thinking, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind hearing some good old country music, because that's actually, believe it or not, before I became a rocker and a metalhead, I grew up listening to country music, and one of my favorites was Brooks and Dunn. And I was like, man, I wouldn't mind going to see Brooks and Dunn. And Dad and I went down to Raleigh, and we got there, and dude, it was packed. There had to be at least 13 to 14,000 people. And on top of that, we got to hear Travis Tritt open up for Brooks and Dunn. I'm like, holy cow. I was not expecting Travis Tritt to be here tonight. So it was cool. And honestly, the highlight for me during that show was getting to hear Travis Tritt do his cover of Take It Easy from the Eagles. That was so good. So good. And just an all-around great week of music. It's so great going back to live shows. And this was actually my 6th concert on Friday for the year. And I'll be taking me a nice break from shows for this month, because in November, Welcome to Rockville is coming to Daytona Beach, Florida, headlined by Metallica on Friday and Sunday, performing 2 very unique sets. Also there will be Slipknot, Rob Zombie, Disturbed, Stained, and a whole bunch of other bands. And
wow.
Cypress Hill's going to be there. Anthrax, Lamb of God, Megadeth. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend of music in November. So I'm definitely taking pretty much this month off. And it's so great being back at live shows. And speaking of being at live shows, shout out to the Front Row. He's at a live event today. He got to meet Suzuki, one of the baddest dudes on the planet.
Yep. He did, man. Seen some pictures that he posted. Him meeting Suzuki, and they're at the PWG show tonight, and I hope they have a great time tonight. And I'm sure we'll hear all about it tonight on Zoom when he gets back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of live shows, Deb's going to be at an AEW show this week.
Yes, we are going to AEW in Philly on Wednesday for Dynamite, and then, of course, the Rampage taping afterward. I bought these tickets a year and a half ago, so I've been waiting a long time to see the show, and I can't believe it's finally here. This show has been rescheduled like 3 times. I can't believe it's finally here, and it's the anniversary show. We're going to see a great card. So I'm super excited for it. I bought some poster board today. That'll make some signs. I'm not sure if I'm going to get on camera, but we'll see.
Yeah. I was with her when she bought the poster board at Michael's, and
Nice.
yeah, she got some loud colors. I told her, get some loud colors, because you never know. The loud colors might get on TV. You might not be able to
make it stand out. Make it stand out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've seen on Dynamite the past few weeks that there are some people that have poster boards that were like the neon green and neon pink, and they really stood out. You could really see them compared to just regular white.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, you may not be able to read the sign itself, but at least the color will show through if they show it on camera. So, Stephen, man, that's awesome about the concert stuff, man. I haven't been to a concert. Guns N' Roses. It was the last concert I went to with Deb and Seth and Chad from Albany. We had a great time in Hershey. We told you all about that a few weeks ago. So speaking of music, I heard something on the radio today that we were listening to a channel on Sirius XM, and the DJ came on after a Van Halen song and said that David Lee Roth had announced his retirement. And so I don't know what's up with that, but I mean, David Lee Roth surely has entertained us for years and years and years. He's a one-of-a-kind entertainer. Of course, the lead vocalist for Van Halen, and when you lose your brother, and Eddie Van Halen, and I know David Lee Roth went solo for a while back in the 80s and 90s. But once you lose someone like that, that's that close to you, and plus, him being, up there in age is all, I mean, Father Time catches up with you eventually.
He's in his late 60s, right?
I have no idea how old he
Something
is.
like
But
I think he's like 65, 66.
Right. He's in phenomenal shape for being as old as he is, because he stayed in pretty good shape. He does a lot of samurai stuff with the samurai sword and all that. I mean, he does that on stage with the band, or he did. There comes a time for everyone, and people retire from jobs every day, but it just it kind of struck me, when I heard that on the radio today about David Lee Roth announcing his retirement, and I heard Chad told me earlier that it's supposed to go into effect early next year. So
yeah, after his Vegas residency shows.
Okay.
He's got 5 shows left.
Okay. Well, whatever the case, I just wanted to send out well wishes, David Lee Roth, if you're watching, thank you for the music and the memories.
Just a phenomenal frontman. I mean, he may not have been the best vocalist in the world, but the dude made up for it with his frontman skills, and just the style of Van Halen is just legendary. I mean, and the albums themselves are legendary, and just an all-around great career for David Lee Roth. And fun fact, for those that don't know, David Lee and I share a birthday. And
really?
our birthday is next Sunday.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, happy early birthday to both of you.
Yes.
Yes. So that's pretty cool that I share a birthday with David Lee and Brett Favre and Lizzie Hale. So it's a pretty good company, I must say.
Man, you ought to invite all your friends and have a big old party. Yeah, man. That sounds like a good there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something I bought this booth there at Oktoberfest, and it was like frames on the wall they had of vinyl records with a design etched out of them from a laser of different bands.
Nice.
And they had everything from Jimi Hendrix, they had Nirvana, they had Guns N' Roses, which Deb got the Guns N' Roses one. And I was looking for Metallica, of course. And so we're looking through all the ones they had, and they didn't have any Metallica. Well, we went on this last box they had, and they were cycling through what they had, and I seen an Eddie Van Halen one. I pulled it out, and it has a picture of Eddie Van Halen shredding on the guitar with the Van Halen logo behind him, in the logo, and in the lines that was on his Frankenstrat guitar. And in the middle of the record is a round decal with the Van Halen signature lines and the red. And so I bought it. And so that's going to look good in my man cave. So
very nice.
Yeah, and it just kind of, when I heard that, we actually heard that about David Lee Roth on the way back on the way to the house, and I was like, wow, okay. So I bought that on the same day I heard that David Lee Roth is retiring. So hey, go figure. But it, it was pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure that anything can be. They've got a website. I've got the business card, but you can get online and look and see what they have to offer. So we're
Very
actually
cool.
going to look at that later. But
Nice.
But anyway, we want to kind of transition and start talking some wrestling. We have Dynamite from Wednesday night, and another outstanding Dynamite.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, you had one of the highlights. Sammy Guevara and Miro for the TNT Championship, and I called it. Like at the beginning of the match. I was like, "What do y'all think? Sammy Guevara pulls this out and beats Miro?" And I heard a bunch of, "Nah, it's not going to happen. Nah,
I
nah."
said yes.
Yeah, Deb agreed with me.
I'm a big Sammy fan. I said yes.
But of course, the match was awesome, and it was a true David versus Goliath kind of match, and good storytelling within the match. Miro taking the turnbuckle pads off of the corners.
Yep.
And he winds up, that kind of spells defeat for him because he got pushed into it and hit his head on the top turnbuckle, and then Sammy capitalized. So I thought that was a great victory for Sammy, and now we'll just see how long he can hold on to the championship, because coming up this Wednesday, Deb's going to get to see it live in person.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara's first title defense is against Bobby Fish, of all wrestlers. Bobby Fish is coming in through the Forbidden Door, and we'll see what happens next Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great match to see in person and a great match to see on TNT. So, any other highlights, Deb, from Wednesday night that you can that was a highlight for you?
And I think the biggest thing was Sammy. I've been watching Sammy's vlog since last year, and I'm a big fan, and it's been really awesome to see his rising over the last year or so. And just from the time that he started in AEW and he was wearing that little panda hooded thing.
Yeah.
Being matched up with Jericho, then being in the Inner Circle, and now beating Miro for a title belt. It's been really awesome to see his progression. And like I said, I'm a big fan of his vlog. The vlog's really huge. I think it's his time to shine. It's definitely his now.
Yeah, I agree. What were some of your highlights tonight?
I would say for me, hands down, it was the promos. The promos that the wrestlers cut on Wednesday night. Again, the promos were just tremendous. I mean, and the one promo that stands out or that's actually two promos. The first promo, Arn Anderson on Cody Rhodes. The way Arn Anderson's inflection in his voice, the way he was speaking to Cody, basically saying, bluntly, I don't want to deal with the loser. Why do I want to put up with the loser? Because you've constantly been failing me, Cody. And just the way he came across, that was old school Arn Anderson at its finest. The man can still cut it on the mic. And that promo by Arn Anderson was just outstanding. And then the second promo MJF, the biggest piece of human filth walking God's green earth. Another outstanding promo by MJF, this time on Deb's favorite, Darby Allin. Just the way he came across. Darby, you could tell Darby was like, yeah, keep on running your mouth. Eventually, I'm going to beat your ass. And that time will come for MJF, but just outstanding promos this week. I mean, MJF just keeps on saying stuff, getting nuclear heat, and it keeps on working. He is the greatest heel right now in professional wrestling. He is. And what's so crazy is we keep on beating this like it's a dead horse because we keep on saying this, and it remains true to this very day. He's so young and so very gifted at what he does in the ring and on the microphone. The man can cut a promo, and everything that he says, he believes because he believes in this character. And, you know, just he is such a heel. He's such an asshole. And that's why he's so great at what he does. And Darby was like, keep on talking. Keep on talking. It didn't phase him. Yeah, he was obviously ticked off. But Darby was like, hey, keep on running your mouth. I'm going to sit here and stand cool, calm, and collected because eventually you're going to get yours one day. Just like I said, these promos this week were just incredible. Just the way they let the wrestlers go out there and be talented. Let them cut a promo because this right here shows you who can stick on the microphone as far as being good and who cannot stick on the microphone because it's sink or swim as far as my opinion when it comes to AEW's promos because they let the boys go out there and let's see who can shine. Because if you can't, you can't. And the crowd will let you know. And these crowds, man, for the past couple of weeks have been so amazing. I mean, 3 straight weeks basically in the New Jersey, New York regions. I mean, just phenomenal crowds and phenomenal shows.
In Philly crowds are notoriously rowdy.
Yes, and that's another thing too is we got another crowd coming up this week. Philadelphia, some of the rowdiest fans in pro wrestling, and Deb, you're going to get to be a part of that on Wednesday.
It was pretty rowdy the first time we were there 2 years ago,
but now it's going to be even more rowdy,
even crazier this time.
Yeah.
And look at the roster that you're going to get to see in front of you on Dynamite and also for the Rampage taping for Friday. I mean, this roster is stacked.
Yeah. 2 things I want to go back to on that promo from MJF and Darby Allin. The way Darby reacted to everything MJF had to say, and then when MJF was talking in the mic, and then he stopped talking in the mic and just talked where the camera mic could hear him. And the way he told him, oh, you don't think I can get in your head? Okay. Basically ended it there and then walked back up the rampway, basically saying, okay, all right, well, you just wait. Basically, that's leaving you wanting more right there. Yep. When they ended that promo, you're going to wonder, okay, where is MJF going to go next week with Darby? Because, you know, I just can't believe Darby took all that as calm as he did. The things that MJF said about his family.
If that would have been me, I would have been in his face beating the crap out of him. But Darby, kudos to him for keeping his composure.
Yeah. With everything that Darby has been through in his life, to have that kind of thrown at him in the ring.
Yeah. You know, Bully always says on Busted Open, he likes his wrestling with a little touch of reality to it, and there you go.
That is.
I mean, how can you go wrong when you talk about someone's real life family issues on TV, and that's been done a few times before in WWE, with the Edge and the Matt Hardy stuff. So
yes,
so Jarrett and Kurt Angle's TNA.
Yep.
We'll see. I'm excited. MJ are 2 of talent, but I mean the limit with both those. We'll see where they go. Transition over into Rage from Friday. I know one of the matches that was a match for me was Nick Jackson versus Bryan Danielson. That match, oh my God, that match.
Yeah.
I know, Stephen, you didn't catch that because you were at your
I'll
concert.
go back and check it out, but I know
you'll have to
you
check
said
out,
it was
man.
good.
That that right there they started it off. They kicked it off strong with that match. I mean, and it was probably what, a 20 to 30 minute match, would you say?
Nice.
Yeah, something like that.
It was long, and I mean, they went all out, and I mean, I am so amazed at the energy that Bryan Danielson has coming into AEW. You know, leaving WWE, first of all, knowing he can do more, but the WWE wouldn't let him do more because of probably, you know, concussion stuff. You know, they were afraid to let him go out there and do some of the things he did before because they're afraid that he might get hurt again.
And now look at him. Had a banger of a match with Kenny Omega for 30 plus minutes a week ago, and then this week, just a clinic with Jackson.
Yeah. And then so I was very impressed with that match. And you know, they're gonna probably lead up to a solo match with Bryan Danielson and Matt Jackson. That'll probably be, you know, next week on Rampage, for all we know. But anyway, I mean, they're telling a good story with Bryan Danielson and the Super Elite. I would like to see him go through all of the Elite, just to have one-on-one matches with all of the Elite, just to see the, you know, because I know they can all go. All
Absolutely.
of them individually can go. We know that. I mean, or else they wouldn't be Elite. And then they had the triple threat match with Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, and Jade Cargill. And that match was so great. I mean, they told a great story within that match. You know, the heat that, of course, you know, Jade and Nyla had with Thunder at first, and then the heat that was developed between Nyla and Jade, you know, over the past few weeks where, you know, was it Jade eliminated by Nyla in that battle royal, or was that the other way around? Anyway, they eliminated each other, and it left Thunder and Ruby Soho in the finals of that battle royale. But I mean, it was a great match. You know, Thunder, of course, lost. She took the pin, which I didn't like because I always want to see Thunder Rosa on top. But you know, Jade Cargill got the victory, and we'll see where that story takes us next. And then they ended the Rampage with the hair versus hair match, and you know, it was something to send the crowd home happy, with -1 on the shoulders of Orange Cassidy at the end of the night. So that was good for you know, the Rochester crowd, being that that's where Brody was from, and so. You know, it was a good week of wrestling in AEW in Rochester. So, like we said, next week, you know, Philly. And can't wait to hear Deb's report back from Philly when they go. And Philly, Deb, why don't you run down the card for next week?
So we have the Elite versus Bryan Danielson, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. I'm super excited for that. I think it's clear from a lot of the people that have come into AEW recently that everybody thinks that Jungle Boy is a future star. Everybody is really eager to work with him. I heard CM Punk on a podcast talking about that. And so I'm really glad that he's getting this shine. And I think Christian Cage with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and then, of course, Bryan Danielson in the match against the Elite is going to be an awesome match. We have the Casino Ladder match, which includes Andrade, Moxley, Lance Archer, Orange Cassidy, Matt Hardy, and the Unknown Joker. So that should be really interesting. We'll see who the Joker is. We have Sammy Guevara and Bobby Fish for the TNT Championship, and Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought of them announcing the Sammy Guevara and Bobby Fish match during commercial break on Roads to the Top.
Well, I thought that was reminiscent of things they did during the WCW days.
Okay.
That was pretty smart to do that during Roads to the Top because only certain people got to see that during the commercial breaks of people that were watching Roads to the Top, which that was a great show that came on after Dynamite on Wednesday. But I thought that was pretty smart on AEW's behalf to do that. Got the wrestling world talking. So, like I said, it's something to look forward to. AEW seems to, they seem to always have, they've got their finger on the pulse of what the wrestling world wants and needs.
Right.
Back in the day when, before dirt sheets, before the internet, when you turn on your TV to watch wrestling and you'd see someone walk out on your screen and you were legit surprised. You were like, oh my God, where did they for instance, the Scott Hall appearing in WCW when he appeared in the crowd and walked to the ring, got in the ring in the middle of a match. I was young. I remember seeing him on WWF television and wondering, why is he in WCW? What's going on here? And it glued you to your television.
Or also like when Lex Luger debuted on the first Nitro, at the end of the first Nitro.
Yep. Back in the day when it was, you were legit surprised and you could not miss an episode of Nitro or Raw back in the day.
And even when Jericho debuted in Chicago in '99, that leak, you were like, holy God, just all this talent, showing up out of nowhere and not expecting it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think it's a cool thing, what AEW's doing. Like you guys are saying, they had their fingers on the pulse of the wrestling fan, of what we as wrestling fans want to see on our television screens. This is going to be such a great match between Fish and Guevara for the TNT title.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, Bobby Fish, I saw him in Philly. He was at the meet and greet we were at a few weeks ago. I didn't get to meet him that night, but I did see him. So I'm surprised to see him in AEW, and I'm looking forward to the match there because it's going to be a great match. So other than that, Roads to the Top. Deb, what did you think about it?
I loved it. I think we didn't really know what to expect. They talked about this on Busted Open on Gabby's Diva on Divas segment, that you kind of thought it was going to be like Ms. and Mrs. or Total Bellas, like a lot of the other reality shows that just follow families or certain people around. You kind of thought it was just going to be like that, where it just followed their life at home. But it really gives you an inside look on how some things operate behind the scenes in AEW. I just found that really fascinating. But the only thing that I kind of questioned is that I was wondering how people would react on seeing that much into behind the scenes.
Right.
If you're really completely breaking kayfabe there and really showing what they talk about backstage and planning processes. I kind of thought that certain types of people would not offended per se, but just be a little taken back by that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Stephen, did you get a chance to watch Roads to the Top?
I did not, but I totally am following what you guys are saying. It's like if you start seeing behind the scenes stuff about how matches are going to be planned out and put together, it's like you're like, yeah, that's cool, but it kind of ruins the,
Yeah. They didn't necessarily mention like how matches are put together, but they showed people, backstage talking and just like it's obviously just breaking kayfabe, that it's not just an extension of Dynamite. It's not storyline. It is a reality show, so obviously some things will be scripted, but it definitely pulled back the curtain that you saw the wrestlers backstage. You saw Cody and Brandy talking to talents and coaching them and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know one thing you probably enjoyed was seeing Darby Allin actually smile.
Yes.
Yeah. He was talking to Cody in one of the scenes on Roads to the Top backstage, and he was legit like just his normal self smiling, talking to Cody.
Nice.
At the time, he had the TNT Championship. So, he was. I heard Deb. We were watching it on Zoom all together, and Deb was like, "Oh, he's got such a beautiful smile." I'm like, Deb, you need a drink?
Wow.
You need a drink, Deb?
I can't help it. He has a nice smile. He has piercing blue eyes. He's got the tattoos and the face paint. It's all a whole look.
Let me get a fan on. Let me turn a fan on so it can cool her off a little bit.
Wow.
But yeah, it was nice to see that. I think Darby's has definitely improved. It's obvious that he's pretty introverted and maybe not as comfortable in front of the camera as a lot of other people, but he's definitely improved in that aspect.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Darby's a hell of a talent.
Yes, he is.
I love watching him wrestle, and the fact that Sting is with him and just lifted Darby to a whole new level.
Yes.
In my eyes, with Sting being who he is. Just waiting to see, because Sting ain't always going to be there. So waiting to see what happens in that story with Darby and Sting, if they, because ultimately what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen, that Darby's going to turn on Sting, or hey, Sting could turn on Darby.
You never know.
And we could see that Joker Sting gimmick. I mean, that was a good version of Sting in TNA back in the day with the Joker Sting. That gave him that other element of his character. So I mean, hey, he could pull that out of his hat. But Sting is an icon. Sting is an amazing person. I had a chance to meet him in Ardmore in 2017. When I met Sting, I legit cried. I mean, I didn't cry in front of him. I cried, I was walking away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Sting has always been my number one on my list of wrestlers growing up. Sting was always number one. So it was great to see him. We were going to meet him in October, or in a couple of weeks in Baltimore, but AEW had to pull their talent from the meet and greet we were going to. We totally understand. AEW has to do what they have to do to
they have a show going on
put on their product. So, they'll make up the dates, I'm sure. I mean, the people there at Celeb Fest do a great job. Shout out to Baltimore Celeb Fest.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be awesome in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're all three going to be there.
Yep.
Can't wait to see everyone again. Everyone in the Busted Open Nation that's going to be there with us. Some of y'all are in the chat right now. I see Elder there. Seth, of course, is going to be there with us. So can't wait. We're all excited for that. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be there Thursday. I think some of us are getting there that Thursday, and then I'm staying till Monday morning. That's when I'm leaving Monday morning, because I'm going to leave out with a load, and a load of justice.
And then you'll reload.
And some of them are leaving Sunday, so but we're all gonna have a great time. Can't wait. So we're all excited for that. So now I want to transition to SmackDown from last night, which was the first night of the WWE Draft, and a lot of us were watching it last night live on Zoom, and there were a lot of us that were, just watching it, but we were, in my opinion, I wish that they would just drop the brands, the SmackDown brand, the Raw brand, and just have one brand, the WWE, where all talents can show up on both shows.
Exactly.
I mean, they talked about it on Busted Open this week about WWE has created their own competition for so long that now they have actual competition in AEW, which they don't, they may not want to admit it,
right,
but AEW is competition. And even though we're all wrestling fans and we all should be fans of all brands, no matter what they are, Ring of Honor, Impact, AEW, PWG, that Front Row is at, whatever.
NWA.
Shout out to Mish Pro. But I mean, we're all wrestling fans, and it would be compelling television to have wrestling talent for the WWE showing up on both episodes of Raw and SmackDown,
like it used to be back in the day.
And then another thing too, not only the talent showing up on both brands, but also letting the talent be talented, like Bully Ray says all the time. Let the talent be talented. If you allowed Seth Rollins, Edge, if you allowed Brock Lesnar, which Brock Lesnar came out and said last night, I know you didn't see it, Steven, but Brock Lesnar came out in the middle of the night last night. Basically, Jeff Hardy was doing a backstage interview with Kayla, and I think Jeff got drafted to SmackDown. Was it? Or Raw? He got drafted to SmackDown because he was already on Raw.
Okay, yeah.
And so he was about to do an interview with Kayla. Brock Lesnar walks in the frame. Jeff Hardy looks at him and kind of just nods his head and backs out of the interview and walks away. And Brock Lesnar says hi to Kayla. He takes her microphone. He says, "May I?" And then he looks at the screen and he says that thanks to Paul Heyman, I am a free agent. And thanks to Paul Heyman, I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want to do, which means Brock Lesnar can do whatever Brock Lesnar wants to do. He can show up on SmackDown when he wants to. He can show up on Raw when he wants to. Okay? So if you're going to let Brock Lesnar do that, then why not let the rest of the roster do that?
Right.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, it doesn't have to be everyone. I mean, yes, everyone deserves TV time, but if they were like they did back in the day where everyone was in competition with each other to get over, you did certain things to get over. If they would allow that again, oh my God, the WWE would be so entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
But
I am just so over the brand extension. I mean, because for
Yeah.
one, okay, when the brand extension happened in 2002, that was fine because the roster back then was so loaded with talented tag teams, talented singles wrestlers, talented top contenders, talented mid card wrestlers. The roster is not as large as it used to be, and I'm just so over the brand extension because we see the same matches every single week. And it's like, yeah, it might be good, but it's not, the story is not compelling because we've seen it time and time again. I mean, AEW has a massive roster and they have 4 shows. I wonder what they're doing with those 4 shows. Oh, they're letting the talent be on all the shows. Why can't the WWE be like that from back in the day? Because when they had SmackDown and Raw back in the day, all of the wrestlers, The Rock, Austin, Triple H, Undertaker, the top talent, the mid card talent, got to be on both shows, and that's the way it should be.
yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day, it was just so entertaining. You could not miss a Raw. You couldn't miss a SmackDown. It was must watch TV every week because you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you didn't care how many times you saw Stone Cold Steve Austin during the night. I mean, he was in 4 to 5 segments a night sometimes, and doing the outlandish stuff he was doing, the Zamboni, the beer truck, everything he was doing. You wondered what he was going to do from one week to the next. Then you had The Rock, at the same time as Austin, The Rock just cutting promo after promo, having one-liner after one-liner, the crowd participation with his promos.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you just said right there. The crowd participating because they were a part of the show, and that's what Bully has been saying on Busted Open the last couple of weeks. The WWE audience they literally look like they're just watching a performance and not being a part of the show. When you're at an AEW show, and I can attest to this, Front Row can attest to this. Deb, you can attest to this because you went there 2 years ago, and now you're going this week for Dynamite and Rampage. Those of us that have went there, Trenda, Front Row, all Mrs. Front Row, we can all attest to this. Elder can attest to this. That when you're at an AEW show, you feel like you are involved with the show because the wrestlers make you feel like you're a part of something. And it seems like when you're at a WWE show, yeah, the matches might be good, and yes, some of the promos might be good, especially from Reigns and Heyman and all that, but you don't feel like you are totally in the show.
if the WWE was, had all the talent being talented and doing things to get over and having the crowd participate, I would think that the 3 hours wouldn't be an issue because you're watching an entertaining product.
Yeah.
I think if AEW Dynamite or AEW Rampage was 3 hours, I don't think we would mind at all
No.
because of the way they just entertain you. When I turn on Dynamite, we're sitting there on Zoom sometimes and we're all getting ready to watch it and we're all like excited. Like we can't wait for that TNT, the screen that comes on right before Dynamite. We can't wait for that. And sometimes we feel like we want to have a tailgate party before Dynamite comes on.
Yeah.
It is that exciting.
Yeah,
because every week is a pay-per-view quality card.
Yeah.
And that's the way the WWE used to be back in the day. And
back in the day, yeah.
Now, granted, SmackDown is the better show between that and Raw, and I can't fathom that. How is SmackDown flying by so fast compared to Raw? And they're part of the same company. I mean, and now SmackDown has got some really good stuff going on, and now that obviously the draft happened last night, and we're going to get into that, and hopefully the guys that are coming over to Raw are going to make it, somewhat better. I mean, again, the matches can be good, and the matches have been delivering on television, but you got to have a story wrapped around it that is compelling.
Right.
Right. The draft from last night, as you mentioned, we kind of drifted away from the topic and talking about WWE. Like I said, we all watched it last night, and the first round of the draft, you had Big E and Roman Reigns, both the champions, which they're staying put where they are. Big E on Raw and Roman Reigns on SmackDown. And Bianca Belair surprisingly got drafted to Raw, and then Charlotte Flair, which is your Raw Women's Champion, got drafted to SmackDown. So now you have, of course, we still have one more night of draft left on Raw coming up Monday, but you have both women's champions on SmackDown as of now.
So here's my question to you guys: are they going to pull the same move that was pulled? I believe it was last year in the draft, where they basically swapped the belts. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm confused.
I'm confused too. But that was one thing I wanted to bring up after we talk about the draft. I wanted to bring up, and it was kind of something touching on the getting rid of the brands and just having one brand, WWE. I was going to actually mention that after I mentioned the draft order, but we'll go back to that, Stephen. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
The second round, RK Bro are staying on Raw, and then you have Drew McIntyre coming from Raw to SmackDown, and then you had Edge coming to Raw. And then you have the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods coming to SmackDown. So there you have Big E on Raw, but you're going to have Xavier Woods and Kofi on SmackDown. So you're splitting up the New Day there.
Again.
I don't know how many, the umpteenth time. And I'm going to let Deb read the third and fourth rounds from last night.
So we have Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH going to Raw. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss going to SmackDown. Keith Lee at Raw and Hit Row going to SmackDown, moving up from NXT. And then the fourth round, we have Rey and Dominic Mysterio for Raw, Naomi for SmackDown, Austin Theory for Raw, and Jeff Hardy for SmackDown. One thing I wanted to mention there is Hit Row moving up and being drafted to SmackDown. That was a big topic on Busted Open this week, that after Hit Row's match on NXT, that I just don't feel like they are ready to move up yet. I think they still need to be in NXT a little while. What do you think?
Where you were talking about Hit Row, it sounded contrived. where they were on screen in a
Right.
promo, and it just seemed scripted, basically.
Yeah, and in ring as well.
Yeah.
I think they still need, still have some work to do before they're ready for
Right.
main roster.
Well, obviously, Vince probably sees something in them or whatever,
Yeah.
or even if, and I'm scared to say this, but we all know it's true, that are they going to be the same version of Hit Row that they were on NXT? Are they going to be the same version on SmackDown?
Right.
Right.
That remains to be seen. I mean, I don't know. But happy for Hit Row to be moved up to the main roster. Let's just hope and pray that they, they're able to take the ball and run with it.
Right.
If they're given the ball, that's the whole
That's
problem.
the thing.
Yeah. So touching back on what you brought up, Stephen, about the belts, I wish that they would just do away with the champions on each brand and just have one world champion, one tag champion, one women's champion, and then have a secondary belt, just one. Have either the Intercontinental or the U.S. Championship.
Or you could have both if you want to. That's fine, whatever. But like you guys have brought up, and like we brought up before, do away with the multiple belts. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. I think Bully mentioned it on Busted Open this week about the belts not having the same credibility that they used to have. I think I remember hearing that either this week or last week.
Yep.
And that's because there's too many belts. You have the dang 24/7 championship running around. I can't even remember who the champion is. I think it's Reginald.
Yes.
And when did he get it? I mean, I've missed so many Raws, being honest, because I just, I can't. I'm a wrestling fan, yes. I love the WWE. I love AEW. I love it all. But it just gets monotonous to sit there and watch Raw every Monday night for 3 hours, and you're feeling like you have to take a Red Bull just to stay awake to watch it, and I hate to say that.
Right.
Me being a long time wrestling fan, I've been a wrestling fan since 1985. Watching the Road Warriors come in and destroy some, no-name tag team, just beat the crap out of them while their song is playing, while Iron Man is playing the intro. Their intro song is still playing on the speakers while they're just kicking butt.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly. And then, of course, the WWF back in the day, even when the WWF had, all the characters, they had Coco Beware and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Big Boss Man, all those characters, Ravishing Rick Rude.
They were still over.
Some of them were outlandish as all get out, but they were over. They were focusing on the kids, because I was a kid at that point, and I gravitated to WWF. I was more of a WCW, NWA guy back when I was a kid because of where I live in Texas. Seeing Ric Flair on your screen at 6:05 every Saturday night on WCW Saturday Night, or whatever it was called, before that. I remember those days. Sting in the surfer gimmick, the flat top. That's where I fell in love with Sting. The colored face paint and the colored tights to match his face paint.
Such a cool character. Such a cool
energy. His energy he had. I mean, he reached out and grabbed you, and that's why he's always been my number one. I remember very vividly him winning the championship at Great American Bash for the first time, the World Championship from Ric Flair at Great American Bash in 1990. I remember that to this day, being so excited to see that. And then to fast forward to the way WWE is now, it's just I don't know. Vince has to have a master plan. He has to know what he's doing. I mean, it's his ball, it's his sandbox. And
like Bully said, it's his vision.
Yeah, it's his vision, and whatever he says goes. He's the be all end all over there, and us as wrestling fans, it's like we're being just forced to comply. I mean, but I'm just so glad that we have other options to watch. I mean, it's not just used to be for a long time. Used to be just WWE, and now look at how wrestling is thriving. Now you have all these options, to watch. there's so many. The NWA is coming. The NWA is coming back in full effect, and I'm so excited. I'm so glad that Billy has the vision he does to bring the NWA back to fruition. I'm so happy for Nick Aldis to carry the championship for as long as he did. And by the way, Nick Aldis, on a kind of a side note, Nick Aldis looks kind of weird without having that championship.
Yes.
He had it for so long.
Yes.
You're used to seeing him with that belt, and
there's something missing.
But it's being carried by someone else, and I hope that he has a good run with it. We'll see where it goes. We were lucky to be able to see that championship change hands. Me in front row, and Neil and Trenda, and the Mrs. Front Row. We were all at St. Louis, and that was such a great time. Got to see Ric Flair in person there at NWA 73, and I'm just so fortunate and so blessed to be able to share these moments, and not only be able to go to these moments and being able to go to these different events live, but to be able to share them with my friends. I'm here right now with my friend. One of the closest people to me in my life is this person right there. I can touch her. And front row, and Chris, my beat boot, and you, Stephen. I mean, Chad. I could, Elder. You all know who you are, and I'm so fortunate to be able to share life with y'all now, thanks to the pandemic, thanks to the silver lining of the pandemic. It was all doom and gloom for a long time.
Oh, yes,
but
it was.
For us, it was a silver lining for us, because that's how we all became who we are today. Mm-hmm. And a story I want to share. I'm not speaking out of turn because I'm sure Chris would want me to say this. Shout out to Chris from Baltimore. But she had an interesting interaction with someone that we had ran into in St. Louis, the Connecting Wrestle Connect. It's at Wrestle Connect on Twitter. And he goes to all these events. Shout out to Chris. He goes to all these events, and he holds this sign that says "Connecting People Through Wrestling." It's a frame, and I'm sure y'all have seen him at live shows and on TV. He's been on
every week.
Every week you pretty much can see him in the crowd somewhere. Yeah. And anytime you see him holding up that frame, it's like a box with an open center, and you could stick. It's like you would stick it in front of you to take a picture with. And so we met him in St. Louis. I actually spoke to him because I just have a tendency everywhere I go, I wind up talking to people. I cannot just not talk to someone.
It's true.
And Deb witnessed it in person today. But yeah, I walked outside the door, and there he was sitting there. And I walked up to him, shook his hand. We took a picture, followed him on Twitter, and that was that. And then we tweeted it out, had a good time sharing it and liking it, whatever. And then Chris was at work the other day, and so she was at some place getting her lunch, and this guy was there, and he was wearing an NWA fam, #NWA fam shirt. And so Chris had mentioned to him that she loved his shirt. And he said, well, thank you. And he said, you're a wrestling fan? And she says, of course I am. And so they got to talking about Busted Open and how they both listen to Busted Open. And he goes, wait a minute, you're Chris from Baltimore, right? And so she goes, yes, I am. And so the conversation came up. Well, she wound up showing him a picture of us. I think she showed him the picture of us at the mural, the ECW mural in Philly. And so he recognized me in the picture. He recognized Deb from the picture. He was like, oh my God, I know these people. And so she looked at his follow list on Twitter, and he was following a lot of us. And so that's how they came together. And so his whole gimmick, connecting people through wrestling, is exactly how he met Chris. And they had that moment together, took a picture. She picked the one night of the week to not wear a wrestling shirt. So, because she's always wearing a wrestling shirt.
This is true.
And so they shared that moment together, and it just the way they came together, and now they're friends on Twitter. They're following each other, and so that to me is amazing at how the wrestling world comes together through something called wrestling. Who a lot of the world looks at and jokes and says, "How can you watch that crap? It's fake." I've heard all of the reasons why you don't watch wrestling, but you just have to understand, and you basically have to have grown up watching it. I can understand how someone probably could, if they started watching WWE today and they didn't know anything about wrestling and they just started watching WWE today, I'm afraid that they would not be as invested as we are, fans today are, that have grown up watching it and been invested throughout all the things that's happened, the NWO stuff, the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. I mean,
Yep.
everything that's happened. I'm just afraid that the WWE has lost touch with what made them a conglomerate.
Right.
In my opinion. But I'm so happy that we have the bubble that we have. Professional wrestling, and the people that get us. The people that understand how excited we get when we see each other, and the passion that we have for the same thing, professional wrestling. And I am so excited with all the events that we're going to be attending in the near future with Deb and AEW coming up Wednesday. And I can't wait to watch TNT and hopefully see her purple sign or her hot pink sign or whatever color she decides to hold up. So, but anyway, I I want to wrap up the show. I'm so happy that y'all decided to join us tonight. Stephen, where can people find you on social media?
First of all, thank you guys for having me on for a second time here in the Nation's Corner. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen_Wyand. And also, you can catch me every single Thursday on our Nation Sports Show where we cover all things sports. And baby, we've been hot and heavy on the NFL. And tomorrow, obviously, is week number 4 on Sunday. And we will be recapping that on Thursday. You can follow our Nation Sports Show on Twitter at ON_sports show, Facebook.com/Nations Sports Show, and get us to 100 subscribers on the YouTube page because we need to get that custom URL. So, man, once again, thank you for having me on the show tonight. And, man, 2 weeks, baby, 2 weeks. We will be in Baltimore. There's going to be a good group of us, 25 plus of us going to Baltimore. It's going to be awesome.
That's right. Deb, where can people find you on the socials?
I am at That's So Debonair on Twitter. I try to post pretty frequently. I post, occasional thirst posts. And I am on Instagram at truth_resist_simplicity. And that's an old John Green reference.
All right. Well, I am at Tony Justice, AJFA, and those of us who are Metallica fans, you know what that means.
Ooh.
And for all of us at the Nation's Corner, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And y'all have fun, whatever you decide to do tonight, and keep on rocking.